The Handkerchief by Great 78.
Chapter 123. The Birds and the Braids, and the Begrudging Boatswain. It was about 10:30 in the morning, and Malfoy Manor was fairly silent. Draco opened the door, poking his head out into the corridor before he remembered that his mother would never act this skittish in her own home, even if she was afraid of everyone who lived there. He straightened his back and glided as gracefully as he could onto the landing and down the main staircase.
"Ah, Narcissa! Feeling better so soon?"
It was Lucius. Evidently Narcissa had given the excuse of not feeling well, in order to retire to her room for the day.
"A bit, thank you. Have you seen my sister?"
Draco asked, trying for an air of curiosity.
"Yes. I believe she was in the library. Hopefully she is looking up magical dentistry,"
Lucius muttered, and Draco let out a small laugh involuntarily. Lucius looked at Draco as Narcissa sharply, who averted his eyes. Lucius might not be a legilimens, but he knew his wife.
"I haven't heard you laugh at anything I've said in years,"
he said, almost to himself.
"Oh, well, it was funny,"
Draco said, and made as if to go, ready to be shot of this conversation. His time was short. He needed to find Bellatrix.
"Your hair, it looks quite different, now that I think of it. More like how you used to wear it when we were courting,"
Lucius said softly. He stepped closer, lifting a lock of Narcissa's blonde hair with one hand, and putting his other arm around his wife's body. Draco said, finding this turn in the conversation incredibly uncomfortable.
"Perhaps you could come by my suite tonight. It's been several months since since the little sailor boy has set sail. We could blow the dust off my sextant."
Draco struggled not to throw up in his mouth at once.
Why don't we see how the rest of the day goes? Ask me again after dinner."
Draco did his best to sound flirtatious, but he really was just struggling to remain upright in his father's arms. He wanted to sink into the ground, through the cellars, and into the earth below until he found actual hell. He never, ever, ever wanted to hear Lucius say anything nautically related, ever again. "Please, dear God," he wanted to say, "don't speak to your wife again until after dinner, when I am long gone from here."
"I will do that, my sweet pirate wench,"
Lucius murmured into Narcissa's hair, and Draco fought not to push him away as hard as Narcissa's arms could manage. Instead, Lucius leaned in further, his lips puckered and eyes hooded. No! No, 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 fuck, no, never! This had been such a horrible idea. Draco wanted to gouge his brains out so that he could forget this entire idea. Mercifully, Lucius settled for kissing his wife's cheek and turned to go up the staircase. He turned back for one more parting shot across the bow.
"I hope my little Boatswain is ready to climb aboard and walk my plank."
Draco gave him a grimace that could be interpreted as a thin smile, and turned towards the library, ready to be as far away from his father as humanly possible. Once his stomach had stopped heaving from disgust at that encounter, he moved down the large gallery hall once more. Draco found the library door open, and Bellatrix seated on what he thought of as his green sofa inside.
"Ah, Narcissa! Feeling better so soon? You have been feeling so poorly for several days."
Bellatrix gave her a grey smile.
"Yes, just a bit of a headache, but I'm feeling much better at the moment,"
Draco answered.
"I thought it was a stomach ache?"
Bellatrix asked snidely.
"It was both,"
Draco said smoothly, forcing himself to step closer and settle his dresses upon the sofa next to his aunt.
"What are you reading about?"
He leaned over to examine the stack of books next to her. He stilled as he recognized a few of the titles that he himself had looked over in the last few years.
"Just taking a look to see what your little crotch goblin has been looking up in his spare time,"
Bellatrix said, with a sneer.
"I'm sorry, my what?"
Draco asked.
"Your crotch goblin, your fuck trophy, your spawn. Draco?"
Bellatrix huffed.
"Apparently, he did a lot of interesting reading over the years here."
"Draco was always a naturally curious boy,"
Draco said a bit waspishly.
"Anyway, you weren't always so opposed to children, Bellatrix. Don't you remember we used to play mothers and babies?"
"You and Andre played mothers and babies. I played the aunt."
Bellatrix grinned, and Draco struggled not to draw away from her.
"Speaking of the fruit of your loins, have you heard from Drakey Poo lately? Still off looking for Potter, is he?"
"As far as I know, yes,"
Draco answered smoothly.
"I've not heard from him, but I assume that is the case."
"And he's looking for the mudblood, too?"
Bellatrix asked sharply, eyeing her sister.
"I believe so,"
he said quietly. He needed to move this conversation back to safer ground.
"Ah, Bella, don't you wish some days we could go back to how it was when we were young? So much easier life was then."
Draco leaned back on the sofa, careful to remember at the last moment that he was a well-bred, pure-blood woman, and would not do something so crass as to put his feet up on the small table in front of him. Bellatrix appeared to be lost in thought.
"I suppose so. I was the oldest, so I was always given more responsibilities, had more expectations put on me than you and Andre."
Bellatrix sighed.
"But I suppose you were right. It was nice to have someone else take care of things for you, to not have responsibilities."
"Yes, even something as simple as having someone else fix your hair every day,"
Draco said. He knew that his mother often had professionals style her hair for major events, but that most days she did her own hair. Considering that Bellatrix's hair always looked as though it had been caught in a windstorm, he was fairly certain that she did neither. Bellatrix appeared lost in thought.
Yes. That governess we had when I was 9 or so, Miss Corrigan, wasn't it? She always did such lovely braids. French, Dutch. Once she taught you a 5-part braid. Do you remember that, sissy?"
Bellatrix smiled at the memory.
Draco said noncommittally. "Well, I don't remember how to do that, but maybe I could still do a simple braid. Would you like me to braid your hair? Like we used to when we were little?"
Bellatrix gave Draco a small smile, and for a short moment Draco was afraid that he would get the mean Bellatrix, the one who had tried to suffocate her sister and kill creatures for sport. But then Bellatrix wordlessly turned her back to him, offering her hair to be braided.
"Oh, go on then."
Draco froze. He honestly had focused so much on getting to this step that he never thought about how he would handle it. He had no fucking clue how to braid hair. He determined that at his earliest convenience he would learn, but it would do him no good now. Instead, he proceeded to run Narcissa's fingers through Bellatrix's hair, finding several tangles and knots which yielded several loose hairs. He reached one hand into his pocket, finding the handkerchief he used to communicate with Hermione. He continued to run his other fingers through her hair so that she would not notice. Once he had tucked the hair securely inside the handkerchief, he began to divide the hair into pieces. He had seen girls in the Slytherin common room braid each other's hair. How complex could it possibly be? But after a few moments, he realized that he simply had no clue.
"My goodness! It's been so many years! I have entirely forgotten how to do this," he said, offering a tinkly little laugh.
"That doesn't seem like you. You're always so good at it,"
Bellatrix said, with mild confusion.
"Yes, well, I guess that's what happens when you have a son and not a daughter,"
Draco said in resignation.
"You know, my head hurts a bit again. I think I'll rest a bit more. I'll see you at dinner."
Bellatrix simply eyed Draco as Narcissa, shrewdly.
"Yes, dinner. Goodness, Sissy, it's been so touching, walking down memory lane with you. It's good to have these talks, and nice that it's just the two of us again. No disgusting sprogs running about, mucking things up. And I'm pleased to see he got rid of those fucking birds, too."
Draco paused here.
"Yes, I suppose."
"You know, I never really liked birds much. What was that bird's name? You remember? The one you had as a child?"
This question was delivered so pointedly that Draco was able to recognize this for what it was. Bellatrix was attempting to determine whether or not he was the real Narcissa. Bellatrix's hand strayed casually upwards towards her robe pocket, where her wand was undoubtedly stored.
Seraphina, was it not?"
Draco said, cool beads of sweat dripping down the back of his dress. After a second, Bellatrix settled back onto the sofa, propping her feet up on the table in front of her, apparently satisfied.
"Yes, that's right. Seraphina. I hated that thing. Well, I'll see you at dinner, Sissy."
Draco smiled and turned without another word. He rushed back up the foyer, pausing only momentarily outside Lucius's study before continuing on. There was not time to look for the wands, and it was unlikely that he would be able to get inside whatever wards were set up on the study now. With unladylike speed, he dashed up the stairs and into Narcissa's suite, the wards allowing him inside both because of who he was outwardly and who he was inwardly. As he walked inside and warded the door once again, he breathed a massive sigh of relief. He checked his dress pocket one more time, reassuring himself that the hairs were safe.
"Vinca Major," he whispered. "I got some hairs from Bellatrix. I will bring them to you tonight. Can we meet in the bay? 11 o'clock?
Her answer appeared a moment later.
"Yes, thank you. And please thank your mother for me. I know it was risky to ask her to do that."
Hermione had no idea, he thought to himself humorlessly. Narcissa was in for an undoubtedly interesting dinner. He realized that, now that it was nearly over, he would need to confess to his mother what he'd done.
"Granger,"
he whispered, to erase the handkerchief, and, with a crack, he turned into the nothingness of disapparition. Back in his room, he unzipped and started to remove the sodding dress, only thankfully just remembering what was underneath the dress at the last possible minute. Salazar's dick, that was close, he thought. He nearly saw his mother's naked body. As it was, he was likely scarred forever from this experience. He sat down at the desk, steadfastly ignoring the itch of the lace at his throat and the digging of the dress's boning into his ribs. 3 minutes later, his patience was rewarded when he noticed his fingers broadening and thickening, nails receding, calluses appearing once again. He checked the mirror and shucked off the dress as quickly as humanly possible. If he never put on another one, it would be too soon. They took an early tea, the 5 of them. Remus and Tonks looked exhausted. Andromeda's hair had small bits of dark lavender paint in it still. Draco was certain that he wore the haunted expression of a teenaged boy who had learned that his parents still had sex. For her part, Narcissa was humming cheerfully, having spent the entire day holding baby Teddy. She kept up most of the conversation, as Tonks's energy was fading, and Remus seemed intent upon getting her up the stairs, with as little exertion on her part as possible, in spite of the fact that Tonks had been going up and down the stairs perfectly fine for a few days now. The couple excused themselves for a kip before dinner. Draco took this as his chance to talk to his mother about what had happened today. "Mum, I need to tell you about something," he said delicately, dusting his fingers off on his cloth napkin.
"Am I about to find out why you pulled my hair last night?"
Narcissa asked knowingly. "What?" Draco asked in alarm.
"Draco, Do you remember me telling you about when you were 7 and you broke that broom in my rhododendron bushes? You looked like the same little boy last night. Your colouring turned dark blue, just like it is now. So, let's have it."
"I polyjuiced as you, so that I could take some of Bellatrix's hair. Hermione needs it."
Andromeda threw her head back onto the sofa in peals of laughter. "Oh, Merlin's beard! I am so glad that I am here for this conversation. Is that why you were wearing my dress this morning?"
"You did what?"
Narcissa asked in amused disbelief.
"Well, Narcissa Malfoy would not walk around Malfoy Manor wearing wizard's robes, now would she?"
Draco grumbled.
"Well, I suppose I should thank you for having the foresight to put them on before you changed into me, rather than after."
Narcissa laughed heartily.
"Too right, that."
Draco moaned in agony, massaging his temples.
"That dress was horrid, so itchy. I nearly yanked it off the moment I got back. I only just remembered what I looked like underneath. I had to wait ages until I changed back."
He looked up quickly at his mother, who was giggling uncontrollably, and then averted his gaze.
"Just so you know, you discussed playing babies and fixing hair as children with Bellatrix, and she tested me by asking the name of your bird."
Narcissa sobered at once.
"All right, I understand."
"And Lucius."
Here, Draco blushed deeply.
"There was nautical talk."
"Oh, God!"
Narcissa covered her face. It was Andromeda's turn to laugh. "Oh, Sissy, remember that time that you polyjuiced as Rabistan in order to trick Corbin into admitting that Corbin was attracted to him?" Andromeda dissolved in a fresh fit of giggles as Draco's eyes widened.
"Andromeda, Black, Tonks, hush!"
He arrived on the beach at 10 minutes until 11, happy to find her already there. He swept her up into his arms as she wrapped her legs around his hips. They kissed hungrily, Draco holding her against him.
"Thank you for coming, and please thank your mother again the next time you see her."
"There's no need, Mai."
"No, really, she did a very great favour for me, and—"
Hermione began, but Draco stopped her.
"No, really," he chuckled. "There really is no need to thank her. I polyjuiced as her and got the hairs myself."
"Draco, you did not!"
Hermione's mouth fell open.
"Why did you take such a risk? If you'd been caught—"
"I know, but I didn't want to involve her unless I needed to. I had the polyjuice. I had access to the dress. It was simple enough to do."
You wore a dress?"
The smile on her face shone even brighter than the moon above them.
"Why is everyone so hung up about this dress? What did you think I was going to do, wear a tea towel?"
Hermione threw back her head and laughed, collapsing onto the sand. He sat down heavily next to her to wait out the fit of laughter. After a moment, she gathered herself.
"I'm sorry, darling. It's been quite a long day. We've been planning all day, talking with Griphook, going through worst-case scenarios. I really needed that."
"So, when is this plan going to be carried out?"
he asked wearily, lying back upon the sand.
"It will take place on Friday, the day after tomorrow, May 1st,
she said decisively.
"The battle commences as the 5th month is born."
Fuck. How was it already May? It didn't seem possible. It had only been Easter, a week ago? But he knew that wasn't the case. The incident at the manor had happened before Easter, about 3 weeks ago. He had had plenty of nightmares about it since then. Yes, the 5th month was very nearly here. He was not ready. But then again, he supposed he never would be. Thank you for listening to this chapter of The Handkerchief by Great78.